The millions fleeing war-torn Syria are a direct cause of the spread of the Islamic State. The newest issue of Time magazine focuses on the failed fight against ISIS and asks why America should be preparing for an inevitable attack. Dan Stewart is the continuous news editor for Time magazine. We've heard from the New York City Police Commissioner. We heard from America's top law enforcement, Dan, and they're saying no specific threat, that we're on guard, that we've upped our security. But is America a target? Are we vulnerable?
I mean, in this latest issue, we have Michael Morell, who used to be deputy head of the CIA, and he argues that, yes, we are possibly under threat. It seems like the attacks in Paris have probably, if you're an extremist around the world, you'd look at this and think, this is the new battlefield for us. Internationally, Europe, America, these are our new targets.
Why has ISIS been so successful in recruiting Westerners and naturalized citizens in Europe and the United States and other places to go and train and fight for them?
It's made a very kind of modern outreach. It's very powerful on social media. They have a very glossy, high-resolution magazine that they put out, Dabiq, which gives bomb-making recipes and so on. Their outreach they've really learned from social media, the rise of Twitter and so on.
The reality is so much less glamorous. In fact, a very large percentage of the people, of the Westerners who go and fight for ISIS, end up dying there in Syria. They don't make it back to their homelands to carry out whatever mission they think they should carry out.
Absolutely, but I think you're looking at a lot of young people in Europe and elsewhere that maybe don't have a purpose in their life, and this, for whatever reason, ISIS has been able to say to them, this is your purpose, this is your meaning, come and join us in establishing a caliph in Syria and Iraq.
President Obama says he is committed to the strategy that's already in place. When you were talking with experts for this particular issue of Time, is it clear that strategy is working?
I mean, our essay makes the case that it's not. I mean, you look at the attacks that have happened in the last 3 weeks. I mean, not just in Paris, but in Beirut, the Russian airliner, which was bombed by an ISIS bomb. It makes clear the fact that our strategy just hasn't worked. And what we make the case for is that what is needed is new leadership, is for President Obama to step forward and say, this is how we're going to take the fight to them.
What role will Muslim societies, Arab nations, in the Middle East specifically have in taking down ISIS? Well,
that's a thorny question. I mean, obviously, Iraq is already fighting ISIS with Kurdish militia, with Iraqi soldiers on the ground. The issue, I suppose, is Syria, of course, because as far as President Bashar Assad is concerned, ISIS is quite a good thing. It means that he can stay in power. The focus is less on him and what he might be doing to the Syrian citizens and more on fighting ISIS. You've seen Russia has come and is giving him support, airstrikes there. And I feel like that it's a tricky question in terms of the neighbors who are there.
Dan, we can't let the conversation go without talking about the thing that is probably the most passionate public policy debate this week, and that is the Syrian refugees and whether they pose additional risk in the United States, and an unacceptable additional risk. And today we see the House vote for more stringent vetting process. What did the experts say about letting refugees in and whether we're adding to the risk of becoming a target?
Well, Dr. Carson actually wrote an essay for our issue of Time this week, making similar arguments to how he has made. But we also have lots of experts saying that there is really very little to be worried about. We only have had, I think, fewer than 2,000 Syrian refugees to the United States since the war began in 2012. And we would let an additional 10,000 in, is the proposal asked for by President Obama. And I mean, to put that in some context, some 4,000 immigrants arrive in Greece every single day. So you're really looking at a very, very small percentage of the number of immigrants.
And you brought up Michael Morell, the former deputy director of the CIA, who's also a CBS News security consultant. And he actually said that the risk can be mitigated for these Syrian refugees, he told me. And he pointed out the refugees that have come from Afghanistan and from Iraq at the height of the conflicts there. Not one of them has launched an attack on U.S. soil.
Right, and we have an existing system that, I mean, it takes 18 months to 2 years for a Syrian refugee to gain asylum in the United States. So we already have a very robust system. I think the congressional bill makes that slightly more robust, but really materially it doesn't change a lot about the system for Syrian refugees coming to the US.
Dan, thank you so much for giving us a look at Time Magazine. Appreciate that.
You're very welcome.